Carrie, do you still, are you still have a background that you're projecting? That may be why your image is different.
I don't know. It's not, I think it's more the light in here. I've got light coming from the side that's a little bright and unbalanced. You can probably see my sweater very well.
Yes, that's why I was thinking if you turned, sometimes if you face the other way.
Yeah, just light a few more candles.
My best friend for my birthday sent me a ring light as a gift, so it's very helpful.
Yes, we all need more illumination in our lives.
All right, if we should go ahead, you want to start? Carrie, do I need to read the?
All right, so you can go ahead and call the meeting to order, Jen, and yeah, you just read the first sentence or two of the COVID.
All right, consistent with Executive Order N2920, in-person participation by the public will not be permitted and no physical location from which the public may observe the meeting will be available. Remote public participation is allowed using the Zoom program. Let's call the meeting to order. Margie?
Here.
Lars?
Here.
Jeff?
Here.
Warren?
Here.
And I am here. Okay, great, thank you. And the approval of the minutes from November 4th, 2020.
I so move.
I'd like to add something under B regarding the sculpture garden that I had volunteered to contact a variety of artists and or art groups and have information about that today.
And also, Carrie, did send you the update. Did that get sent out to people?
I don't know if I saw that, but I can send it out now and we can bring it up on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
Email, sorry.
Okay. Do you see it or do you need me to send it again?
Let me just open my email. So I close that for the meeting. I do see it, so I will email that to folks and I'll download it. The only difference is the couple of changes the site plan, right?
And some wording changes from Warren.
Oh, okay, okay.
Any other adjustments to the minutes? Or comments? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Motion passes. I don't think that we see any comments from the public because somebody would be on the call, right?
Correct, and we have not received any comments via writing either.
Okay, great. Let's move right into the regular agenda 6A, support for artists during COVID-19 artist lottery. Did we have more applicants, Carrie?
Thank you. We did have one additional submittal, and let me just pull up the name. And that was a woman by the name of Patricia. Sorry, Patricia Marina.
Thank you. I will add that the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, Carolyn and Catherine, they did send this out again after the last meeting. And so I'm happy we got one more person. And I want to open it up for comments from everybody.
My thought is that my understanding is that this was the last go around we would do so that we maybe can finalize it, as Mr. Nixon used to say, today, and distribute the total amount among, so we have, there were 4 last time, so there's 5 total.
There were 3 or 4 last time. So yeah, so it's not exceeding it'll be slightly more than $500 each.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
No,
From what I understand on the last meeting, it was agreed that we would take the total number of applicants and split the money evenly between all of them. And if that's okay with you, that's okay with me. We can, if we need to pass a motion for that, we could go ahead and do so. But the 500 that the former last month's entries got, they would get an additional add-on divided evenly between the 4. And from my understanding, they've already received the 5. Is that right?
They have been notified. So we need to get their forms and things from them. I'm not sure where that process is, but we will notify them of the additional funding. We'll probably just cut them the single check for the additional money. There is no need to vote on it. I believe that was voted on at the last meeting. So there's no need to redo that vote unless someone wants to change something. But you're correct. It was decided that this would be the second month, and then it would be split evenly if there were less than a lottery's worth of applicants.
Thank you. Okay.
So the total number is 5, and therefore they would get 800 each. Is that
I
correct?
believe that's correct.
Great.
Okay, any other comments, or should we move on?
I think it's great that all came together. My only disappointment is we didn't get to do the bingo.
I will return the
No.
soon. I'll make an appointment to come over to your house. I'm also sad about that.
Well, maybe we can keep it in mind and see if there's any way we can just fit it in some other time. And Carrie, can you just confirm the logistics of when and how people will receive their money? And also, we did have the other, I'm just thinking now, we had the other element, which was ways that if people wanted to, they could promote their work by being shown in city offices, a piece of their artwork, and also through newsletter and so on.
That's correct. Yeah.
And of the applicants, the 5 that we did get, do you recall whether those people had opted in for that?
I don't recall. I'd have to look at their submittals, or we'll reach out to them again to see if they're interested in that.
Okay, and then how would we let's clarify how we would proceed with those that did opt in.
Sure. So I think the easiest way or most expeditious would be to have if there's 1 or 2 volunteers from this committee to work with them as well as me. I obviously know the city buildings, and you probably know the city buildings as well, to see what kind of art they would be interested in displaying and kind of help match. And that way I think we could potentially get it in during the holiday season and brighten up some of the city buildings and the library. I know the library still has folks doing book pickup at the library. So we could try to coordinate some of that offline rather than us waiting a month to bring it back to the group.
Okay. So Jen, you and I were on that committee. Should we do that together, or what? I can do it on my own, or it'd be nice to do together, but what do you think?
Together would be great.
Excellent.
Okay, so you'll be helping to basically curate and understand and help coordinate which pieces make sense to go where.
Okay,
very
and
helpful,
so
thanks.
as a first step on that, can you send Jen and I the information and the contact information for the artist after they have, I guess, after it's been arranged for them to receive their money?
Yes, sure. Yeah, and I don't think it needs to wait until they've received the money, but it, it can be a simultaneous effort.
Or at
But
least
yes.
notice they're going to get it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good.
All right, great. Let's move on to the NedCon update. I'm not sure if it's Harry or Warren.
Yes. So during the last month, I have contacted Ned 3 times by email and explained to him our city policy about putting sculpture on city land and recommended the Morris Street site to him. And in the interim, Carrie has talked to Dante and Public Works, and they have no problem with putting it on the lawn in front of Public Works, which certainly has the linear effect that he needs. And as is common with Ned, he sent me a last minute email I will read. Hi, Warren, I'm working on an idea for the Morris Street site. I'm building a mock-up. It will take me a week or two, but then I'll have a new proposal with renderings and video to run by you and the committee. Thanks for your patience. I think this is a great path forward. So I know last time the 4 members all said they wish to have a NedCon in our community. So this is it. We may have finalized the site, and he'll probably use a different form of the bridge sculpture, but I hope by the January meeting, we will have him on to present it, and we can move on from there.
Awesome.
So, Warren, did you get the idea that he's going to be continuing to work from the form from the bridge sculpture, or will he be also, or going back to his original plan, which had gotten scuttled because of Caltrans, which was the metal
I got the
reflecting?
feeling that we're working on the bridge type site with different standards to hold them up, because he designed those specifically for the bridge rail. So that's what he'll have to work on. I don't know, we're going to have to wait and see what the height will be and the length will be. He had 300 feet to the bridge, so that's way more than we need along Morris. So he's going to have to adjust everything. So that's just a wait now till next month.
Okay, so I have a question about just wondering about the plastic, which was because of Caltrans going, and compared to the metal, which is more reflective and brighter. I'm wondering if any other members of the committee have any interest in that, or if you think that Ned would be considering that, or is he just totally into the plastic now?
Yeah, I think that's what he's into. He discovered this in a project in Australia years ago, and it's what he presented in number 2, which were the great columns on either side of the bridge. He presented it in our point project 3, which was the pieces along the edge of the bridge. And he said he had it because a project fell through. I think it was maybe Emeryville or somewhere else. Anyway, he had this material. It would be very cost effective for him to use it.
Okay.
And I think it stands up to the weather. And this is not an issue on Morris Street about cars, because they're driving at 25 or 30 slowly around that corner. And I don't think reflectivity, especially if it's on the western side of the road, would be an issue. But anyway, he'll address all that, and you'll be able to question him, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I understand about, then it makes it sense if he's got the material left over cost-wise. Personally, I like the shimmery quality of the metal, but.
Well, I don't think that's an option.
Okay.
And I'm assuming his proposal for Morris Street is going to include what to do or how he's going to deal with proximity to the existing fish.
The fish, will have to be removed.
Okay.
They might, maybe they could go to the sculpture garden.
Exactly.
Or yeah, somewhere in Ice Park, or maybe it's actually I don't know if it makes sense to be on the creek side. I think there was one location on the creek side that was a possible sculpture site, since they are fish after all.
That's a good idea.
I'll leave that to the pack. You're the curators of the exhibits.
I like
Mhm.
that one.
Yeah.
Art, any other comments?
What do you mean? Could you just clarify when you say Creekside?
In the sculpture garden?
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
If there's no other comments, we can move right on to the sculpture garden agenda item.
Actually, I do have one question, just if anyone knows the fish sculpture, who did that, or when it was placed? Any history on that?
Is in the PDF of public art.
Oh, the inventory.
It is
Excellent.
on the inventory, and all the info is there. If it's not written in that, we might not know. But
Well, it was at least 10 years ago, and Beth Hartman she runs Sculpture Jam, and I would talk to Beth about the removal of it. It's been there a long time.
Great, thanks, Juan.
okay, sculpture garden committee. Would you like to get us up to date?
Have you received now, the rest of the members, the email?
Yes.
Yes. Everybody else have it?
Yeah.
And would
Okay.
you like me to put it on the screen share as we walk through it? Is that helpful
Sure.
or not?
Sure.
Okay.
Anybody have any comments? This is just updated. The main updates are some language changes from Warren, as I mentioned, and adding the site map. And before we also have the a waiver. And so my hope is that the committee can approve this at this point. We are waiting for the county approval of the land use. But if we have it approved and completed, aside from the dates, the TBA dates, then we are poised to move forward. Jen, you got muted, and Alan is muted.
My dog's drinking water right behind me.
Okay, any comments?
I have a couple questions. In installation of these pieces, it seems like we talked about sort of like a engineering or building department approval, kind of, to make sure they make sense to the city, and also kind of in terms of liability to the city. It seems like they would want a public works person to be part of the installation process. And I don't know that any of that has to go into this document, but it's just sort of a general question that came up for me.
Yeah, so Lars, the way, so sort of two different things. One is the review for liability and safety and those types of things. And Margie, that should be, did you change that sentence in
Yes.
this document?
I did, and I used the sentence you suggested. So that's on page 3, the very bottom. The environmental effects of this project during and after installation should be considered. The city will ensure conformity with city standards and maintenance, durability, and public safety considerations.
All right, and so we don't have written considerations like for ADA or things like that. ADA is part of the building code, but it shouldn't be a consideration for this since it's not on a path of travel. It's just in the art, in the open space. But in terms of, yeah, public safety, obvious things like sharp corners at eye height or dog eye height or things like that, where it's going to be a concern. And this is
So,
similar
yeah.
to what we did with the library art piece. We did the building official, myself, and Dante from Public Works all reviewed all of the applications to see, did we have concerns about any of them in particular? And we would do the same for this as well. And any concerns we had would be included in our comments to the PAC, as you guys do your review of the projects as well. So you would know, hey, there's some significant safety considerations with this, or this is great, but it doesn't look like it'll stand. It's going to need to be tied down or secured in a certain way so that it, if it's a leaning tower piece of it, it doesn't topple. So we will look at those for that. So that I think takes care of the initial part, Lars.
Okay.
And you're correct in terms of the installation. And Margie, I thought we had something in here that said that talked about the installation would be done in coordination with Public Works, because you're absolutely right. I've talked with Dante about, how would we do the installation, given that we're not, given that it's city property, and given that they're potentially large pieces that might need a forklift or something like that to some of the Public Works equipments. And what he said is that, yeah, Public Works would do any driving of forklifts, and we would just coordinate with the artists. We'll cordon off the area so that it's, just like a gallery installation. It's not open to the public at the time that you're setting up the installation for any public safety considerations.
Okay, that sounds good. I did not have that in my notes at all to be included, and I think it's a good point and should be included. So installation will be in coordination with the City Public Works Department. And if you have a suggestion about where that should occur, and in addition, I'm looking and notice that artists will be responsible for installation, maintenance, and removal of artwork. So maybe that would be the place, comma, in coordination with.
So I would probably do it as a second sentence, because obviously the Public Works doesn't want to be dealing with durability or, if there's graffiti and things like that.
Okay.
Got it. I think we can just add a sentence that says installation will be coordinated with city Public Works.
Installation and removal?
Yes, thank you. Yes, both of those.
Okay, fine. So let's assume that's in there. I will put it in. Very good. And any other comments? And then I would love to hear from Jeff.
I had one other
Yeah.
comment. Just the piece about, so in eligibility, the competition's open to sculptors living in Sonoma County. That's fine, of course. And then the next part, we may choose to designate sites for work from the following organizations. So I know where we came up with that, and it makes sense that we can, use them as a resource, a conduit or whatever. And I just wonder if I'm an individual artist and I read this, will I feel like there's only one site that's going to be for me, and all these other organizations are the ones that are actually getting the top spots or something. It's very open-ended. It's just sort of put out there as like we reserve the right, or we may want to partner with these organizations as just part of this overall intent of the sculpture garden. So it's sort of a question out to everybody if that sounds.
Can you tell me where you're
that
looking
could be worded
again?
differently, or I'm just not a
Lars, can you
Right
tell
where-
me
The page is pulled up, Margie. Do you see it?
eligibility page.
eligibility? Okay, because I'm making notes on my copy here too.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. May choose to designate for work in the following organization. Okay, so that makes sense. And So we could uh,
We could
change
add,
that statement, that sentence, that line to be more open. I'm not sure exactly how at the moment.
well, you could word it, the PAC may choose to designate sculpture sites for work from individual artists and or organizations, for example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's simple as that. That's exactly.
That was
Okay, hold on.
great. Yeah.
May choose to designate sculpture sites for work from individual artists,
And or,
the following organizations,
for example,
for example.
that's a possible wording.
Okay, considering Lars's comment, to me, I mean, that can work, and to me, it sounds a little bit also like that the PAC may choose to designate a sculpture site for individual artists. So that's also, sounds like it's saying, we may tell you where to put your piece, and maybe that's so.
Uh-huh.
Lars,
Um,
with your consideration.
I think we just want to keep it open-ended, kind of.
Does that sound open-ended enough to you?
The PAC may choose to designate sculpture sites for work from individuals. Yeah, I think the way Jeff said it is fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
And another possibility is just take out that entire piece and just go with the first statement, which says this competition is open to sculptors and art organizations in Sonoma County. If you want to be really open-ended.
but I'm not sure what that means, if it would be open to an organization rather than a sculptor.
Well, meaning if a particular art organization or center, for example, is being represented by one of their art members, for example.
So theoretically, they could, like an organization could have several artists get together and do one piece.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Or say there was a artist represented by Petaluma or Healdsburg, but they lived in Lake County. Would that also be an
Very
eligibility because they were working with an organization within Sonoma County?
good point.
Yeah.
So maybe,
I
yeah,
think it's
I
still
think that's important.
that if they're not living in Sonoma County, but they're represented by one of the organizations, that seems viable, that they could be included.
Mhm.
So I think that in that case, then we should keep it as that's a very simple first sentence, and then a second one that sort of it concludes the individuals and the following organizations.
Yeah, I think that would make it clear that it's Sonoma County.
Yeah,
So have two sentences.
yeah.
Fine. Any other comments on that? Okay, great, thank you. Any other input? Okay,
I guess I have a
Yeah.
question. We are going to be, do we have quotes on the pouring of the pads? And do we know how much that's going to cost in general, like a ballpark or?
So we don't have a formal quote because our public works staff is planning on doing the work. Instead, we're not going to purchase them. So I've worked with Dante to understand what the cost of that would be, and that is in the approved city budget.
It's in the approved city budget, as in they'll be paying for it?
As in the parks budget is going to be paying for it
Oh,
because
wow.
it's an improvement to Ives Park. And Margie, actually, thank you, Margie, for attending the Planning Commission, which is also our Parks Commission. And I believe our City Council budget hearing on that item to lobby for it to come out of the Parks budget and not the Public Art budget.
Yeah, that was taken
I
care of.
have no horse in that game because they're both budgets that I have to that are tight that I have to work with. But Margie did a great job of coordinating with those groups.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
great.
so Jen, that was taken care of in the
Great, thank you.
already.
Well done.
Yeah, and I think that helps this be a no fee, you know, to submit to, just given that.
I just want to say your comments and input and suggestions are just very helpful, and I really appreciate them from the whole group.
Well, thank you for all the effort to put this together. It's really coming together. It's great.
It's exciting.
You're here.
Okay, so might we be able to entertain a motion to approve this, stipulating those two sentences would be added? Could we do that?
Sure.
Carrie, yes, that's
Yeah,
kosher?
so if the chair wants to entertain that motion, that seems appropriate to, yeah, I mean, the motion would be to approve the call as amended.
Okay,
Yes, I will boo for that.
okay. To pass this call as amended, stated by Margie, we have a,
First, we need a second to that
do we have a
motion.
discussion before a second, or do we already?
After the second.
Okay, after the second. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Do we need any more discussion on this, or are we all on the same page here? Okay, Carrie, do you want to do a roll call?
Sure. I'll start with Committee Member Arnold,
Yes?
Member Strucker,
Aye.
Member Langberg,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mills Tyson,
Aye.
and Chair Burtz.
Aye.
All right, so that motion is unanimously passed.
Bravo.
So
Okay.
before we leave this, Jeff was going to ask some of those, and I wonder if he has a brief report on what he's found to date.
Thank you. Yeah, we want to hear from them.
Yes, yes, I do, Warren and Margie. And I will keep it as brief and succinct as I can. So I looked into a variety of the art organizations across Sonoma County, including the list that is or was in the call for artists. And I'll just kind of go down to the list pretty quickly here. So I contacted Catherine DeVries. We spoke for a while on the phone, et cetera. And SCA will definitely send out or publish the call for artists. And if there's a press release before that, they would also be willing to do that. Spoke to Joyce Mann at the Cloverdale Sculpture Trail. She seems pretty supportive. I left her a message a few days ago. Haven't heard back yet from her. Contacted Sonoma State Arts Department, and it was sent by a woman named Brooke Tester, sent on to the art department heads, but haven't heard back from them yet. Emailed Michael McGinnis, emailed and had a email conversation with Beth Hartman of Sculpture Jam. And she and Catherine DeVries both actually forwarded a number of artists who had participated in Beth's led Sculpture Jam before that didn't really happen via SCA. So we should probably consider some of those artists. I've emailed Peter Crompton, who I believe is also a SRJC art rep. Haven't heard back. Cloverdale Arts Alliance, same thing. Occidental Center for the Arts, the Arts Guild of Sonoma, the Petaluma Arts Center, and they were very encouraging, and they said they would definitely publish the call for artists, et cetera, in their artist newsletter. And also, finally, the Healdsburg Center for the Arts spoke to Kathy Birdsong, and they can publish it in their January newsletter. Their December newsletter is already out. And she also shared some artists' names.
Right,
Thank
and
you.
I think we want to you might want to let her know that we're not ready to publish it yet because of the agreement with the county that needs to be finalized. So it probably wouldn't be the January, just in case she's trying to hold space for it.
Okay.
And that's wonderful, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Did you, I didn't catch, but did you also get in touch with the public arts committees in like Santa Rosa, Petaluma, and so on?
I
No.
did not.
Okay. And then, and Peter Crompton, isn't he the sculptor who did like the one that's in Katati?
Yes.
Okay, and his response, did you hear back from him?
No.
Okay.
Or we had a point where we could pass some of this information on to Holly Hansen for a press release now, saying that we're moving forward on this to get the word out.
I think we can, just in terms of, coming soon, like a save the date, so that people who are interested can start thinking about it. And we can use the site plan diagram that's in the call that just sort of focuses, that's part of the, approved Ives Park master plan.
Great.
Without the, I wouldn't want to publish the full call, like I said, because it does include the county land area. And when you do a call, you want to be fair to everybody and get it all out at the same time. So, but yeah, we can certainly do a teaser, if you will.
Yeah, so I had in my notes to contact her, but I was waiting to get that clarified. So having her send out a coming soon, save the date is okay, but not, for instance, Healdsburg doing that in their January newsletter. Is that what you're saying?
I think you could probably, if someone else wanted to, they can, and what we can do is I can have Holly and Margie, if you're able to do a quick little save the date, text thing that I can pass on to Holly. If you send that to me, I can get that to Holly and have her put it in our city newsletter, the e-newsletter, as well as on the Facebook page. And then if anyone wants, they can send that, that link to any of the other organizations to get the word out.
So when you say if anyone wants,
well, because it's public information at that point, right? So anyone who would want to link to it would be free to do so. I don't know if I would specifically send it. I have had a really hard time getting a hold of the county. They are dealing with so many things right now with COVID and the fires and a lot of the other stuff. So I'm hopeful that we can get their attention and it's not that difficult of an ask.
What about?
I already have Becky out looking at the trees, which is one of the requests that they had, to make sure that the trees wouldn't be damaged by the sculpture, the pads and things like that.
What about like the list that Jeff mentioned, and also the public art, the Sonoma County, other Sonoma County public arts committees? Once we have the text and have sent it to Holly, what about us sending it to that list that Jeff was working from?
I guess one question I would have for the group before I respond to that is, how long do you anticipate, the call being out? So once the call is officially out, is it a 2-month process? Is it how long is it? Because if it's going to be, a 3-month process, it might be nice to get, or if it's going to be a really short process, it might be nice to get the word out sooner. If it's going to be a really longer process, I would maybe wait until after the holidays in January to send it out to the other organizations.
You had mentioned a spring call for summer installation. That's what you had previously,
Right.
which sounded, you know. I
Yeah,
think
and like
good.
I said, I'm hopeful, but I haven't even seen the agreement from the county yet. so-
Right, right.
so
So, and if we contact Holly, will she wait until after January or will she do that right now?
she'll do it whenever we ask her to. She works for the city, so whenever we tell her to do, can you put this in blank newsletter?
Yeah, after the new,
And
yeah. I don't know. What do people think about timing?
Our New Year
After the
meeting
holiday.
is canceled. I will just say that. I don't believe we have a January meeting. Is that right?
We hope to have a January for Ned.
So one of the things that actually, thank you, Jim, we can do is set a special meeting because the normal date would be on a holiday. So yes, you're correct. We would not have it on is it the
Yeah.
first?
Might be wrong about that, actually.
January 6th is the first Wednesday. And
Right,
Oh,
we should
that's-
have a meeting. Right, okay, sorry about that,
Okay.
Greg. Just want to make sure.
so I'm a little confused maybe, but if we don't have county approval, then how can we put this out at all? Like, it seems like either, unless you're just confident we're gonna get it and great, but you know, if
Yeah,
that's
so I think
going to
the-
county, if that takes 4 more months, right? Or 6 months, or then we have no spring call or.
Right, so the alternative would be to do, if they drag their feet or if there's some other issue where we just can't get their attention, the alternative is there to just utilize the land that's in the city property. So it
Yeah.
would be 3 or 4 pads, not the full 8 or 9.
Right, okay.
And so
There are
that's where I
only-
think a teaser is okay, but I wouldn't put out the full detailed information until we have that secured.
The, okay, I understood, and I could be wrong, obviously. When we walked the site and so on, that the side that we primarily looked at for sites was the city site. The county site was on the kind of the upside of the hill that that we just chose like maybe 1 or 2 if, so that it's my memory, and again, it can be corrected. My memory is that the majority of the sites that we looked at were the city sites.
That's correct.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I
So
think
it
it
seems
might
to
be a
me-
little bit more half and half and where the property line is exactly. Is something we'd need to look at. The easy way around that is to not worry about where the actual property line is and have they
That's
do know what
best.
the county is done.
Yeah.
And then it won't matter even if it straddles the property line.
I think
Right.
that's the best approach. Let's proceed, and the county will eventually come into line. Right?
So
Yes.
the text, for the text, and the announcement going out, should we then say how many sites there are?
No, I think a teaser should be really, really brief and limited to coming soon. Ives Park Sculpture Garden, the Public Arts Committee, the Sebastopol Public Arts Committee will be putting out a call for artists in the spring. Keep for artists, please stay tuned or something like that. Just something really simple.
Thank you. That's helpful.
That sounds great.
Okay, so I will write that up, get that to you, and you will get it to Holly. If I can be in touch with Holly also just to check in with her, that would be nice.
Yeah, when I send it to Holly, I'll CC you.
Okay, and then maybe she
if she
can
has
get
any
in touch
questions,
with
she can
me.
coordinate.
Excellent, excellent.
I'm happy to email the save the date to those organizations of which I've collected email addresses.
Sure, yeah, I can send it to, when I CC Holly, I'll send it to CC both you, Jeff, and Margie.
Okay, and then we will ask Holly and those people, even if we send it now, we will ask them to wait until after the 1st to put out information, correct? Is that the consensus? Yeah, yeah.
I think that's
Yes,
good. I know for
Good,
the
okay.
city, we're trying to do a big push on support for local businesses, and we're trying to get the free parking maps out there so people know and can support the local businesses during the holiday season. So
Okay, excellent.
One question, Jeff, you didn't mention, or we haven't talked about Creative Sonoma as an organization to contact as well?
Oh, excellent.
Correct. I did not include them. I'll add them to my notes for,
I could reach out to I know Kristen, the director. I'm happy to reach out to her.
okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
And then the other public arts committees, Jeff, do you want to take that or someone else should?
Well, I added that down here as another
Great.
possible group, art representative groups to contact.
I
Thank
did
you.
have the card. I got a card when I met the Public Arts Committee in Petaluma when I painted on their Black Lives Matter project. So I was in contact and met some of them. If you wanted me to reach out to Petaluma, I could do that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Excellent.
So then you don't even have to look up the info because I know I at least have theirs.
Excellent.
Margie, would you send anybody contacting some Lars and I at least the brief description of what we should be saying? Or I don't know, Jeff,
Yeah, I'll send you the copy of the text, certainly.
we're all talking the same language.
Right.
Yes.
I can send you I can email you the introduction that I used.
Great,
Oh,
thank you.
perfect. That's great.
So it's
Okay, and will you send that to me too then? Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and then when we get the text that I sent to Carrie, maybe she can just send it to everybody. Yes, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other items on this, guys?
I don't have any other items. Anybody have any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you all so much.
Getting
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Feel it.
Yeah,
So that's it for the regular agenda items. We will at least have NedCon and the Sculpture Garden coming back next month. So January meeting. And I guess if anybody has anything they'd like to add or bring up new items, we could email Carrie and this next month. And if we want to add another agenda item. And other than that, we could just move to the planning department report.
oh, I have a little question before that.
Yeah.
Last meeting, Carrie brought up having condensed minutes,
Yes.
and where are we with that?
So your minutes this month were condensed.
And that's going to be ongoing then.
If we can, it actually helped quite a bit with Rebecca in terms of being able to put them out quickly. So
Thank you.
if you're happy with that format, yes, we'd like to continue for sure.
I'm happy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
I have one comment about, I don't know if we talked about this before, but right out here on my window, right, Ned is installing a couple pieces in the hotel site.
Yes, yes.
So I've been in touch with him a little bit and with Cersei Scher, the developer, the owner of the property, because it occurred to me or someone said, well, if, there's artwork there, we should have an opening. We should, celebrate it. And so I kind of floated that idea and how to do it in a COVID way. And Cersei was very interested. And then Ned came back with an interesting comment, which I actually appreciated. He said that he, all of his projects are so like schedule driven and budget driven. Like this is an opportunity for him to sort of be a little more loose and playful and just try different things. So it's gonna be a more like evolutionary installation out there, and maybe come springtime or something, or maybe they'll get to a point where we could actually think of doing something and highlight it. Yeah, so that was just that report. I think you can see like he's put them up, he's changed things a little. It'll kind of continue to evolve. It's certainly nice to have something out there.
You want to put that on the agenda for next meeting? Just to discuss the progress towards the opening.
Sure, we could. I could. My sense is it won't look that much different in a month, but it might. I meant to reach back out to him and just kind of, just sort of leave the door open for when he's ready or when that seems appropriate to do something.
Lars, it's an idea. I don't know if you've ever used or seen the construction cams that people use for larger projects where you can follow the evolution of it. If it is sort of evolutionary, I'm curious if you would be willing to, so each week or each time there's a change, snap a picture from your location as a sort of a time lapse of the evolution, and that's something we could maybe put on the city's website as an interesting. We could get that in the newsletter. I mean, talk to Ned about it. And see
Yeah,
if
I'll talk to Ned. I mean, he's
Yeah.
always really conscious of his, video edit, documentation and stuff of his pieces. He has beautiful films of his work, and
Mhm.
but I love that idea. Yeah, I'll reach out to him.
if it's a evolving thing, it'd be nice to, connect with the community, the arts to the community in that way. If there's some way
for
of doing
sure.
that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah,
He may want to do that himself. Since
that's
he,
right. Yeah,
He
Yeah,
has
and in
the
which case, if
staff.
he's willing to have a link from the city's website,
yeah.
or hosted on the city's website, if he's doing it, if he has, I don't know if he has a website himself. Certainly, it's something we could link to and do a news article for the newsletter and things like that.
Great.
Yeah, no, he has an impressive website, but yeah, he.
Yeah.
My understanding is it's he has a 2-year lease from the hotel people because they just didn't think that their funding would really come back, so to speak, for 2 years.
Wow.
So that's my sense. I'm not 100% sure of that, but yeah. So that's just that update. And then the other thing, I don't know if maybe you were going to bring up, Carrie, but the parklets that have been installed are sort of a strange thing that, is conceptually a great idea. It took a long time to happen, and now they're looking pretty forlorn, I would say. So the Patrick Slater reached out to me and a couple of my colleagues as to like, what can we do? Like, who knows who's got some materials, or what can we do to jazz these things up? And because I think the city's getting complaints about them, actually.
Yeah, I can talk about that. Actually, if you want to segue into the planning department report, we can start with that one. I do have a few other items, and one of which may lead to an agenda topic as well. So the city has installed 3 parklets, one by Screaming Mimi's and Create It, one at Retrograde and Sunshine Cafe, and one by People's Music. And so the city's work was to install the barricades. We had a meeting with the business owners, and they have been adopted by various businesses. Retrogrades and Sunshine for the south one, People's Music for the one at their business, and jointly Screaming Mimi's and Create It for the one in front of their businesses. And so they're working somewhat on furnishing them and maintaining, and cleaning them and things like that. We are Diana Rich, who is our newest council member. That was actually one of the other updates. She also works with the Rotary, the Noontime Rotary, I believe, not the Sunshine. And they have volunteered to do some, if there's smaller construction things or things to help with the furnishing and decoration. And she's actually working with, trying to get some, I don't know if she's the person who reached out to you, or you said Patrick reached out to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary Slater, who's now council member, but asked Mary Slater and council member Gurney were the 2 council members who kind of sponsored and pushed that forward with Paul Fritz from the Core Project. So there's continuing to be involved in the next phase is decorating them and making them look attractive. I know Screaming Emus has put out Christmas trees, and we do have wine barrels from Boleto that Jennifer from Create It helps source. So they have those, but they're still could certainly use some additional decoration. Diana Rich has, and if this group is interested in helping with this decorations and some artistry with it, that would be great. And I could connect you with Diana to help with the coordination of that. We haven't confirmed that the inside of the parklets can be painted, the barricades can be painted, so that as you're walking along the sidewalk. She is working with, she reached out to a group, and I apologize if this group is interested as well, and I'm happy to put you in touch with them to do it cooperatively if you like, but let me just see the name of the group, because I'm sure some of you will know. Art Start. Are any of you aware of that group?
Yeah, I don't remember much about it. I know the name, but
I thought they were in Santa Rosa.
Didn't they do
Art
that?
Start is Mario Uribe,
right.
Yeah.
and he's a painter down in the 4th Street complex.
Mhm.
A Street, South A.
Yeah, it is Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jane Burns is the on the board, the president of the board of directors. It sounds like too. I'm not sure if any of you know.
Carrie, you
yeah.
said that you talked about painting the inside of the barricades, but my impression is that the real eyesore is the outside of the white barricades. And is there any way to do a mural or murals or colors or anything on those? It's from the outside, I think that probably there's a lot of
That would be also
displeasure.
helpful. Yeah, I think, when the question was originally asked, so there's always the question about liability and whether it's going to be a distraction to drivers and all that kind of stuff. I sort of went for the low hanging fruit. Well, can they start with the inside of the barriers? That shouldn't be any sort of liability issue, right? And we got the yes for that. I think my next push, I think you're right, Marky, is, and my initial sense was, well, we probably, the city bought the barriers. So it's not we were going to rent them originally. And Dante said, well, let me just buy them. That way we have them for other things too. So yes, so we can paint them. I do need to check in terms of, we wouldn't want them painted dark black or darker colors that are not going to be easily seen by vehicles.
But someone like David Gordon and people like that could have something beautiful there.
Yeah, so I think the outside, if it's and actually with the Art Start, it sounds like the Art Start people are the people who painted all the mailbox sets in town that are the nice creative sort of yellow and purple bright colors with circles and other designs on them.
The newspaper boxes.
Yeah, the newspaper boxes. Thank you.
Yeah.
That are around town, and to me, if it's something like that's where it's bright, vehicles are going to see it. So from my perspective, that wouldn't be an issue.
Right. Well, what's typically in their spot is like a dark gray vehicle, so
right.
it wouldn't take much to make it different than a car.
Right. As long as it's not, a night scene or
And there were all those wonderful paintings on the park benches in Santa Rosa.
Art
Do you
Start.
remember that?
Yeah, that's
They're Art Start. They're
That's
high
Art
school-
Start.
That's the same.
High
group.
school
Okay.
kids got paid to do that. Summer work.
High school kids. Oh, that's great.
Interesting.
Beautiful.
Okay. So I guess the question is there anyone from this group interested in connecting and being a part of that?
You mean actually painting or organizing painters?
I'm not sure either, I'll say for now.
Yeah. Well, it's
this
not.
is very much a
painting.
grassroots. Sorry.
Painting is just one part of it, right? Like it's furnishing. It's all sorts of stuff could happen. I mean, if you look at Valencia Street in San Francisco or other parts of the city, they're all incredibly different. They even go up high. There's like bike hanging racks on some of them. There's just an incredible variety. So right now, it feels like all we've done is take over a parking spot. And it needs to
Right.
really.
Right. And Petaluma's, you know, I think it's, Petaluma is an example where they were installed by Public Works as well, instead of a lot of them in San Francisco, I think are actually the private businesses.
Yeah.
And they're dedicated to the private businesses. So they have some sort of financial stake in, you know, because it's basically their outdoor dining room.
Well, it's not, no, not exactly.
Oh, they're not, okay.
It's sponsored by a business, but it cannot be, it's always considered public space. Like the restaurant is not allowed to serve out there. You can go in and bring your coffee out, but they only sponsor it to decorate it and upkeep it.
Okay, so that is actually the same,
Yeah.
The same rules as we have here then. So that's good to know.
You could actually get takeout food from another restaurant on the street and take it and sit
That's
there.
correct. It's a little public park.
Right, right.
Our ordinance was modeled after the San Francisco ordinance.
I will throw in that having worked with the BLM visibility team, their next project was to do a mural. They really were looking for something. They've contacted a few different places. And I know, for instance, Retrograde was really supportive of these guys when they were doing it. They put signs up, all their signs. They would always bring it to Retrograde. After we finished painting, we went to Retrograde to show them pictures. So I don't know if that would be something, if that would, I don't even know if that's a possibility, but if they would want to paint something on the outside. And I don't know if it would just be, they wanted to do a mural with paintings of different people and kids, and I don't actually know what their thinking was. I don't think it would be something as simple as just Black Lives Matter, but I'm not sure. But if interested, I could reach out to them and say, maybe you should talk to somebody about if you have time to do a painting. I'm not even sure how I would word it, but
I'm wondering about the public political sense in terms of these parklets specifically, that they're, I don't know, somehow to me, there's a difference, and whether there would be, people would say, well, you can't put political things on our parklets. Which would somehow, to me, I'm thinking, I don't know why, but it's different than the writing, the painted writing, or them doing their own mural somewhere.
You know, I think I hear maybe the sensitivity of, is that going to reflect on the businesses behind them, and is that going to create angst? If it was a inclusive, welcoming, you know, diversity, inclusion kind of a mural, I don't see that as being a problem, because that's very much aligned with Sebastopol, and I don't see that as a political things in the same way, you know. And I will say, and I think we forwarded some of the comments on the Black Lives Matter mural. There were members of the community who felt it was anti-police, and they have police family members, and felt it had some angst over that. I believe we shared some of those with this group. So, you know, I don't want to dictate content, but something overtly political versus something that's focused on inclusion. I think something focused on inclusion would certainly not be an issue. And it sounds, Jen, from what you're saying, that's kind of what they were thinking about for a mural anyway.
Yeah.
If we were able to focus them on that kind of a thing.
I want to be careful, because this is another thing that could easily turn into like a 6-month thing. If we're going to be curating and deciding, oh, this can go, this can't go, whose decision is it? I just don't think it should be ours. I know somebody who wants to do a mural. These guys need a mural on the barricade. Who can I contact? Who can I get them in contact with so somebody else can be a part of it? Because we can't, I don't think it would be our, it's tough, isn't it?
It is, but do we
Yeah.
want to do it? It would be ours.
Well, and I think the other thing to note is that the mural, the parklets are temporary. So unlike some of them in San Francisco, they are temporary in nature, not completely built out. Right now, the permit from Caltrans that we have goes through, I'll just say the end of February, because it's the end of February, the end of COVID restrictions. And frankly, it's going to be the end of February or longer. we will be submitting, I believe we'll be submitting for an extension of that, because I think it'll really start to help businesses in the springtime when people want to sit outside and as weather gets warmer. And you know, I'm not an expert, but it certainly seems like from the news that if and when there's a COVID vaccine, it's not going to reach the vast majority of the population until late spring-ish, you know. So I do anticipate that we would be trying to extend. We have gotten some pushback, and I think part of that's because of the lack of decoration. And there's some concerns about the parking loss. But I think as spring approaches, and some of the business owners were, yeah, if it's springtime, that'd be great.
Temporary for now.
So I don't think, yes, Jen, I agree with you, a 6-month process to select someone isn't going to work, because that's, and so it may be, you know, maybe as simple as if ArtStart is able to put something together, we just let them run with it on the inside and the outside for that one, for this one.
Yeah. I think to just to correct you, I believe all the ones in San Francisco are considered temporary also.
Oh, okay.
I think they get a 6-month, you know, extension every 6 months, you know, so
Yeah, but they get an extension and it just keeps going.
this keeps going.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to have happen here. Like, there's no reason that 2 goddamn parking spaces should matter to anyone in this town, but having a little public space and a wider sidewalk does. You know, so the effort to make them look better and feel better should be considered a long-term view, not just a temporary, the barricades are going away and instead of being white, they're going to be pink. You know, it's like, it should be, this is an effort towards making a better downtown long-term. That's what we need to keep in mind.
I just wanted to say, from, you know, what I've heard today about that, if the PAC has any input as to what those barriers look like. If in reality, if you look at the street side of those barriers, which I agree totally look industrial and not very beautifying, that, you know, cars are often obscuring those in many cases. And if they aren't, then vehicles are going by them at 15 to 20, 25 miles per hour. So whatever the paint or color schemes are, in my mind, would be best really simple, but somehow vivid. So it definitely dresses up the streets. However, that said, it wouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth if ArtStart wanted to do something much more detailed on the outside too.
Well, a number of us walk around town a lot. So there's that. And I don't see them obscured by cars. You can't park on the other side of them, I don't believe.
Well, you can park on either side of them.
Yes, but not in front, so you're not blocking that image, the view.
No, but what I'm saying, depending on the location of the parklet, some of them, depending on the time of day, are pretty obscured by cars that are sitting there, like at a traffic light, for example. Whereas on the sidewalk side or on the ends, perhaps that would be more akin to something that allows more detail on it, whereas the street side might be better if it was something just very simple but beautiful.
So Carrie, ArtStart has already been contacted by Diana and they're trying to get that going.
That's correct, yeah. And right now they're focused on the inside, but as I said, I'm the primary point person for this somehow, which is fine. We did a bunch of outreach to the business owners to determine whether there were going to be 1 or 2 along that block of Main Street where it's at People's Music. Yeah, so I'm now the contact for kind of trying to be the point person for questions and this kind of coordination. But Diana Rich has really stepped up, previously as Rotary volunteer, but now as a council member to help. And she's doing a lot of work to help coordinate. So she's actually the person who had reached out to ArtStart and is trying to help the businesses who have adopted them with resources.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we said, hey, can you include the outside of them too? I think Art Start would be happy to do that as well.
Yeah.
I'm the point that you brought up just before, which is the role of the Public Arts Committee. Thinking about it, it seems to me that is part of what the Public Arts Committee should be involved in, because it's city land, it's art, and it's being created.
Well, and that's what I'm
So-
bringing up is do you want, or are there members of the, sort of like Jen was the point person with Black Lives Matters, is there an individual who would be interested in working with Diana and Paul Fritz and others who are helping to coordinate that and sort of be the committee liaison to that group?
I wouldn't mind being the committee liaison. I just don't necessarily feel like if we have to bring artwork in, debate on it, go back and forth, I just could see this dragging out for months. So if there was a way we could get it through really fast, like we did the Black Lives Matter, I mean, we pushed that through in no time, comparatively to some of the other things that we've done. I would like to see it actually happen, so they're not just sitting there blank, as I could see the Public Arts Committee being a hindrance to seeing those get painted faster rather than a help.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to bring it in our normal process. I think it's if we can step up as, to volunteer or even give money or whatever, great. But if we bring it into our process, it's too slow.
Well, thinking about how we facilitated the Black Lives Matter art, how could the PAC facilitate this happening rather than slow it, but still, I mean, it just seems to me that our role is connected to this in some way, so that it would be good to be connected in some way that doesn't slow it down.
Yeah, and so the way these are structured is that they are adopted by the businesses. So the business owners actually kind of who have adopted them and are shepherding them would kind of have the final say on it. However, obviously, I think they would be more than happy to get assistance from the art community. And, I think there's maybe a couple of different ways. There's 3 different parklets, and if there were 3 different volunteers interested, PAC members, you could each kind of shepherd one and just be, help that along. If you wanted to have approval, I mean, that actually got a council approval because it had council funding. In this case, it wouldn't, I don't believe there's council funding. The city council is sponsoring the parklet, so there's no liability insurance or anything like that required by the business owners, and they bought all the barricades and had them all installed, so that wasn't the responsibility of the businesses.
The core project gave money to each.
And the core project has donated money for help with the furnishings too, so that's a nonprofit thing.
I would be willing to sign up as a contact or a liaison because I have a lot of mural and paint contacts and information and could help. I could put in, sweat equity, whatever they needed, and help. I would like to see the businesses make the decision, not us. And hopefully, they choose something beautiful to have painted on there, but I would like to be able to allow them to make that decision, but to be a contact to be able to help in any way that I can. So if that's okay. I like what you just said, Kidder.
And I do have one, I'll share one picture. This is actually in front of a business in Petaluma. And I think maybe if we'd been able to go with the orange K rolls, maybe they just have a different context than the concrete because they're softer. But this is something that's as simple as they have the same kind of wine barrels, but they put some floral decorations. I think this is a wedding shop or something like that. And then next door they have there's a restaurant, so it has a partial tent, which they are allowed to do, the partial tents, and they can't do fully enclosed for weather because of once it's fully enclosed, it's considered indoors under COVID regulations. So the county has come out with some regulations on tenting and stuff, but our fire chief is working with the business owners in terms of if they want to put out heaters or these kinds of tents and things like that. So, you know, this is part of it's maybe what's behind in this scene.
Mhm.
I'm not sure why this feels different than the ones in Sebastopol. I don't know if it's because of their white concrete compared to say the more orange that has a little bit different depth. I'm not sure, but I think that's where maybe the painting of the exterior would be helpful.
Yeah.
That's what I was really meaning. Thanks for sharing that photograph of keeping the vehicular side simpler. I mean, that was very simple, but did not look industrial to me. And again, most people are going to be moving past it unless you're a pedestrian on the opposite sidewalk, moving past it, you know, fairly quickly. So something simple that either alternates colors or it's kind of a monolithic color like that one in Petaluma, I think makes the most sense. Otherwise, that whole scene's going to look so busy. That's just my point of view about that.
Mhm.
All right, so I know this is under the planning director's report, so I feel responsible to facilitate this a little bit and make sure we get to the rest of the items. So I'm feeling like, although there would be a great interest of having it come to the PAC, the timing and the way this is structured, it doesn't seem like is necessarily conducive to that. But it sounds like if people are interested in helping and volunteering, I hear Jen that you would be interested in. I'll just put you in touch with Diana to see where they're at with the painting. And
Sure, and you mentioned one person per business, so if there was anybody else that wanted to take on, just to be a contact for one.
Yeah, I'm willing to be a contact for one of those, Jen.
Thanks, Jeff.
I could be a contact for Mimi's.
Great.
Mimi's has the most potential. It's an amazing, you know, really could become like a little mini plaza.
Definitely, yeah.
I'd agree.
I'd love to help, but I have zero time to do that. Sorry.
understandable. This is sort of a last minute, very quick effort too. So I appreciate that. And Jen and Jeff, did you have preferences on which one? So just so you know, the one in Retrograde is the biggest. Well, Screaming Mimi's is a different size because it includes the drive aisle. But Retrograde is the next biggest, and then the People's Music is, well, I think it's 8 acres wide, whereas the Retrograde one is 12. I think maybe the People's Music is maybe the one that's most visible and could use the most artistic help.
I wouldn't mind working with the Retrograde folks. However, I don't have a strong opinion on it. So if Jeff would rather work with them, that's fine as well.
Yeah, I'm flexible. I'm not married to any one of them.
Then I will just pass your names on to Diana, and
Thank you.
wherever she maybe needs you to help pitch in, or the businesses need to help pitch in. Because I don't, and the one per parklet, I don't think, since this isn't something coming to the PAC as a approval item, there shouldn't be an issue if it's, you know, they're both doing something for one, that's fine. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you
Carrie.
for your volunteers on that. So just so I don't forget, I'm going to do sort of the formal stuff, and then I have one more. It's a potential topic, city beautification, similar city beautification effort to potentially agendize next month. So just at council last night, Diana Rich and Lisa Hinton were both sworn in as council members. Obviously, Lisa's a re-elect and Diana is the new, and we said goodbye to Michael Karnacki, although he will still be involved with local businesses. As most of you probably know, he has a shop in downtown. And the mayor stepped down after his term, Mayor Slater, so he's now just a council member again. I shouldn't say just, but he's a council member again. And Una Glass was nominated as the new mayor. and Sarah Gray Gurney is the new vice mayor. So we now have a fully certified election, yay! And it was actually quite close for Nisa Hinton's seat. I believe it was 55 votes separated her and Everett Fernandez, who's our planning commission chair. And let's see, an update on the Michael McGinnis project. He's actually going to meet with the building inspector and public works on site to, I believe he's completed the blocking and the ceiling. And so, those are the structural pieces that he's working on, working towards project installation. And I have not gotten, but now that after today's meeting with the building inspector and public works to see if there's anything further he needs for that, I will try to get a schedule for his completion and installation to share with this group at our next meeting. And then, so yes, the parklets was one sort of city beautification effort. The other item that has come up, and it's come up a couple times by council members in meetings at various times, and actually by our planning commission recently, was ways to perhaps utilize the public art committee to insert some public art around town in various places. And I know Councilmember Gurney, when the COVID artist support was passed, started talking about downtown businesses, empty windows and things like that, which I know this group has discussed in the past. But one of the things that has come up in both from both council members as well as our planning commission, which is also our parks commission, as they were discussing Ives Park, was the potential to help whether it's a mural or some other type of art to help with some beautification in Ives Park, in addition to the sculpture garden. And so one of the areas in particular, and they would like to have a liaison. They have a Ives Park subcommittee working on looking at some of the improvements that could be done there to further the master plan, as well as just smaller improvements. One of the places that the planning commission has identified as a place that could really use some help is this pretty awful fencing around the pool. And is there a way to muralize or get some sort of artwork along the fencing? I know there's often signage along the fence, but it's, it's the sort of the aluminum with the slat in it. One of the other ideas was, if you know the park, the back side of the Ives pool building, if that was a potential mural location. And so the planning commission would like to have a rep come and from the Ives Park subcommittee at one of your future meetings, either January, February, I think would work, to talk about any and sort of brainstorm what might be possible and what the PAC might be interested in and are available to help work with. I know they also, they have just sort of some brainstorming ideas that they were interested in talking with the group about. So I wanted to gauge your interest and willingness to take that on.
Sure, anything we can do to help that. I think it seems to me the pool building would be a great place for a mural, but I think the fence should just be replaced with a better fence.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Architectural fence.
Yes.
That looks nice by itself, right? Like not putting artwork in a chain link fence is going to look like artwork in a chain link fence,
Yeah. Plus they already have that sculpture in there. I don't know what the story or the history is behind that, but only people who really go into the pool area can do justice in terms of seeing that. It's a shame that couldn't be relocated.
True. Yeah.
Oh, see, and I don't even know about that because I'm not a swimmer. So, so you're right. You don't see it unless you're inside.
If you look through the chain link, you'll see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could definitely be happy to. Seems like it'd be great to talk about that.
Okay. So I will see. It sounds like Warren. I don't know how if Ned's going to be ready for a presentation at the next meeting. If it makes sense to do both of those at the next meeting, or if it I can work with Jen on the agenda management too and see if it makes sense to have it in January or February.
So Carrie, I'm sorry, on that same note that you brought up though about council wanting to consider other sites for public art, I just want to plant a seed and maybe you could look into this some more. So being a resident of the south side of Sebastopol, can you give some more info, not necessarily now, about Spooner Park and particularly all those solar panels which really dominate the south or the east going route there? That just seems like a potential place for a big public art piece to me. So I'm just kind of curious what kind of flexibility, if any, there is in there.
That is a city-owned park. The Solar Dragon, I think it's called, is obviously edged all around that. It's not really used as a park. I don't think. I've never seen anyone in there as I'm driving past it. Obviously, from Sebastopol being a solar city is quite important for the solar panels to be prominent, but I don't think that necessarily excludes artwork. And Jeff, you weren't here probably a year and a half ago when we had a public art committee retreat to talk about sort of longer range vision for public art in Sebastopol. And one of the things that came up was having art at the entries to town. And so for the southern side of town, I don't recall exactly where we had targeted. The Fairfield Inn and Suites is basically the city border, just south of there. But of course, that's Caltrans right of way coming into town, so it has that kind of an issue. Spooner Park is city owned, so that doesn't have that issue. I don't know if doing something there, obviously it'd be a public art call and sort of the decision of this committee as to where the next public art commission you want to do would be. Whether it's the south side of town or some other location in town. I think that's maybe a bigger discussion, but that's the history behind Spooner Park. And yes, it certainly could be utilized for artwork.
All right, thanks, Carrie.
All right, guys, it's time. And if that's okay, I'll talk to you, Carrie, about putting that on the agenda. If you want to talk to Warren after this, see if he thinks Ned will have time to put together a proposal for the next meeting, and if we have time to discuss the additional.
Yeah, I think it should maybe be one or the other because we always have other items to talk about, but Warren, we can check with Warren as to whether that'll be ready or not. Yeah.
All right, great, guys. That's it. Do we have a motion to approve? I'm sorry, do we have a motion?
Yes.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn is passed and we are closed. Thanks, you guys, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Yeah.
holidays.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay well.